What's up, everybody? Welcome to Startup Speedrun's Fireside Chat. We have a amazing guest today, scientist, entrepreneur, investor. Just happens to be one of my favorite experts on fundraising. So we have Abhimanyu Rathi from Renured, which is his latest startup. And the first question for Abhimanyu today, without any romance, right? Like just straight ahead, what is fundraising actually? Is it leverage? Is it validation? Is it distraction? Or is it survival?
It's a mix of leverage and validation because you raise funds. Fund is like the fuel for your company, for your startup, for your baby in some cases to survive. You want money to make things happen, to hire people, to test out the product, to do experimentations, to hit new markets. And then it's also validation in the sense that somebody believed enough in you to give their money to you. So yeah, mix of validation and leverage. I would put it that way.
Mix of validation and leverage.
Yeah.
What is fundraising? Like for somebody who doesn't know anything about startups, anything about like business.
Uh,
Yeah, what is fundraising according to you?
so a startup is the ability to conceive a product, and I'm choosing my words very wisely. I'm not saying to go out and build something or get traction, not at all that. Just the ability to think of a problem first, get some critical insights around it, and then think of a product. And when you can do all these three with absolute clarity, you create what is called a presentation, which in the startup world is called a pitch deck. You propose, this is what I'm going to deliver. When you propose that, the second important tool that you need is a financial model. Okay, this is what you want to build, but everything requires money. So, how much money do you want? What is it that you want, and for what do you want? And what is it that you're giving back to, for the lack of a better word, let's call it an investor. I say black for better word because it can be friends and family also. It can be a Uncle Sam sitting in Canada also. It could be anybody. Now, when you do all of this, when you realize you want X amount, that process of asking for X amount against certain percentage of your company or certain share of your company is called fundraising. This entire process is called fundraising. Is it important? No, not always. Two of India's biggest startups, Zoho, Zerodha, they never raise funds. They are what are bootstrap startups. Has it become more important now? Yes, because it's a competitive market. You have to beat competition. So speed of creating the product and hitting the market is fast. And when you want to do it fast, you want to raise fast, experiment fast. So this entire raising money from somebody else and who believes in your product is fundraising.
Fantastic. What is? Why do people fundraise? What is in it for the investors, right? Like,
Yeah. Answering first question, why do people fundraise? You just thought of a product. Now the product could be as simple as creating a milkshake, or it could be as complicated as creating a rocket. But even a milkshake requires raw materials and a person who can sit on the counter and add milk and ice cream. But even a rocket requires quite a lot of raw materials. In both cases, you want money to buy the materials to hire people. And that is why you need to fundraise. You create one good milkshake, then a lot of people come to you to buy multiple milkshakes. Then you create a franchisee out of it. Now you're getting loyalty for that milkshake. This is called scaling. So investor sees potential in your milkshake, says, "Hey boss, you create great milkshake. Now use this recipe to do franchising, and we will make a lot of money out of this at scale." So investors get into this to not just double, triple, or four times their money. Normally, startup investing is look at the lens from getting the money at least 10x. So investor will put you 1 rupee with the expectation that he will give back 10 rupees in roughly 5 to 7 years of time. So that's what investor is looking for.
fantastic. Like
Yeah.
it's interesting that you brought up the milkshakes idea, right? Like,
I know. Yeah, yeah.
but
Bangalore
it's
has
a good
become hotter,
example.
so I was craving for one side lab milkshake.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, welcome to Bangalore, by the way. Like,
Thank
we
you.
were in a hotter place when we met, I think.
I know. Yeah, we were. I was in Goa recently. Climate change, but it was 36 over there in February. So
Right.
Goa is damn
Wow.
hot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Cool beans. Like, milkshakes and fundraising. Where did all this begin?
Ah, this began 17 years ago when I was 16.
Right.
So yeah, this
No, no,
was
no, not
this.
about your journey. Hang
Oh,
on.
I said
I'm talking about the world of investing, VCs. I know you know your history.
when did the investing begin? I don't know. It's been around since industrialization. I remember Edison
Right,
was an investor investing into science-based projects.
right.
Yeah, and that's how he earned a lot of money. And there are some reports at some point he was the richest person also. When
Mhm,
did it really begin? I think this was around 85-ish when the word venture capital was really coined. And
mhm.
people started looking into innovative business models that can, again, using the same word, scale faster. So mid 80s is when it really happened this way. And then the
What was the
technology boom
correlation?
started.
I think it was a one of a technology boom that also triggered this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. Then the technology boom triggered it, and then it quadrupled. So, yeah, look at the semiconductor boom plus the technology boom plus the venture capital. All three happened at the same time. So
Mhm.
that's when it began. Yeah.
Fantastic. What is when do you think a founder should start raising?
Good question. I think one point that I've already raised is when the founder has the ability to conceive the problem solution statement very clearly. Sometimes we either know the problem, and most founders, especially in India that I have interacted with, end up knowing the solution. We will become an event management company, we will become a web design company, we will create a boiler for industrial use. But why? Which Simon Singh also says that you should know your why, start with the problem first. So ability to when the founder has clear ability to conceive the problem and solution, is good at oration, can explain it simply. I'm not talking about traction, just explain it simply, and knows what the roadmap would be for the company if they want to scale it up for the next 3 years. I think that's a good point to start fundraising.
Interesting. This is from a common question I got like from the registrations for this episode, and it's kind of related, right? Like, why do people fund ideas? Like, where's that coming from? Why this super early stage, right? Like
Hmm.
what you're saying. Also, you come up with an idea, you identify the pain point very clearly, you identify the solution very clearly. Why does someone take a bet at that earlier stage?
Yeah, good question. I think the people who invest are the ones that have residual income to put into a business.
Expand that, like tell
Expand
it
that.
to, yeah, or
Okay,
tell it in a
residual income.
simpler word. Yeah.
Simpler word, they have extra money that they don't know what to do about. They have a home, they have multiple homes, maybe they have multiple cars, they're enjoying their life, and there is extra money that is in their savings account, and they really don't know what to do about it. Apart from the fact that they can invest it into public markets, like a share market or some kind of a scheme. And this is seen with what are called high network individuals, that they park 15% of their money into what, again, for a lack of a better word, exotic investments. Now, what are exotic investments? These are investments made with the fact that either they will multiply by a big number, or they will come to zero. These kind of investments. Why they do it is because of multiple reasons. And now these people, they either invest directly into a startup, or they do it through a fund which is called a VC fund. So this was required to be known. Now, why do they invest into an idea? By coming in early, they have the ability to take a larger share of that idea, which will eventually turn into a business. So the sooner you come in, you have more equity into that company, more share. Number one. Number two, you can talk to the founder and have more involvement in that idea also. Suppose there's somebody who's retired, they've enjoyed their life, but they were in an aviation sector and they have residual income going using the same word, but they want to give it back to the society by helping a rocket company or a drone company. They'll invest into a startup early, take a larger share, and then become maybe co-mentors, co-directors, whatever. And that's why people invest into ideas. The success ratio is very high with ideas.
There's a point you made that I want to get you to dig in a little further on.
Hmm.
You said like people with high net worth invest in VCs that invest in startups. Can you elaborate that? Like,
Yeah. So you need to understand how a venture capital fund model works. When you say a VC, we are raising money from VC. These VCs have also raised money from somebody else. Within the VC world is called a limited partner or an LP. So suppose I'm a VC fund called Pranav Fund. Now the person running the Pranav Fund, Pranav K, becomes the general partner of the fund. So a general partner goes to richer people and says, I have some ideas or some startups that I can put your money into. And by putting that money into the startup, this money will grow with the startup growing. So the limited partner says, okay, what kind of startups do you have? So Pranav says, I have climate tech startups. And I know you are passionate about climate change. Do you want to give your money? He will ask some questions, and Pranav obviously can convince people. So he will get the money and invest into the startup. So this is how the entire VC model really works. We can get into more technicality, but this is the lay of
Go,
the
go
land.
for it. Let's go. People are
Let's
here
go
to
for it.
learn.
Okay. So Pranav would say my fund is about 1,000 rupees. He will go to 10 people, collect 100 rupees each, invest into about 10 startups. If one of the startups does well, it converts 100 into 500. There's a 400 rupees profit. Pranav will keep his 20 rupees, which is called a carry, for the effort that Pranav put into for finding the startup, and give the remaining first the 100 rupees that the investor invested, and then 80% of 400, 320 back to the investor. So investor made money, startup got the money to scale, and Pranav also made money by finding startups. So this is how a VC model really works. It's called the 220 model. So this 20 was for the 20% success fee that Pranav got. Pranav will additionally also get 2% every year for 10 years for running the fund. So that is why it is called a 220 model. So this is how a VC fund really works. Now, why is Pranav the most suited to run a VC fund? And would Pranav also put in some money in the Indian law, at least in the Indian framework, which is regulated by the market regulator called SEBI? Pranav also has to put in 5% of the money that Pranav has promised to invest into all the startups. So out of that 1,000 rupees, 5% is something that Pranav will have to put it out of his own pocket. Plus, Pranav will have to build a reputation of having invested into startups, because why would a LP trust Pranav? So this is how the entire venture capital game works. Yeah.
Fantastic. Can you like talk people in through exactly what like a founder's journey when it comes to working with venture capital looks like? And I think like maybe this is a good time to tell us how you raised your fund, right? Like
Yeah.
and how that worked out.
Okay. So how does a founder journey works? And going back to the same principles that I spoke about, first two people or two or more people come together, they think of a product, think of a problem, and then a product. These days there are solo founders also that are coming up. Just a quick note on the solo founders: it is sometimes okay to have be a solo person, but a business requires 6 skills, and these skills are thinking of the product, building the technology, creating the sales and marketing engine behind it, and thinking about finance and operations. So product, tech, marketing, sales, finance, operations. If one person says I'm an expert at all six, God bless you. But generally, that doesn't happen, and this is why it is so important to have multiple co-founders in the journey. Somebody is good at something, somebody is good at something else. And again, in India, problem: a product founder meets a product founder, they fall in love, they start a company, and forget there are finances needed to run the company. So, if there are early stage founders over here, think about having co-founders with complementary skills. Coming back to our journey, I had some 6 to 7 months of brainstorming on what ideas, do I want to get into, what kind of people do I want to work into. I started with somebody that didn't work out for some time. Then we figure out a friend wants to get into this space of carbon markets. We started brainstorming on the idea: what is it that we can do, what roles the two of us will play. So his name is Yogendra Panchal. He looks after technology at the company Renured. Once we had clarity on what roles we are playing, what market we are entering, or what problem we are solving, we started interviewing folks who face this problem, because we might have a sense of the solution, but is that the right solution or not? You never know. So we interviewed people, we built a hypothesis of the solution, we built the decks around it, and then we started fundraising. Fundraising is nothing but a journey of talking to a lot of people who have money. This could be either grant or equity, and we'll come to that too, I guess. But going to those people, asking for, telling them your story, telling them why you are creating this startup, how this will a scale monetarily, how this will scale socially also, like what's the impact behind it. And then a lot of conversations happened. I think from our first conversation that happened in October 2024 To the point we closed the fundraise in January 2026, we had spoken to about 125 VC funds and grant bodies to
Wow.
have about seven set of investors. So yeah, that's the journey so far.
It sounds a lot like B2B sales.
It is purely B2B sales. You
Okay.
have to, rightly pointed it out because investors ghost you, they don't reply, there's no feedback coming in, you don't know what you're doing. Sometimes the feedback is very strong, very typical to B2B sales. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. And so, what is a part of this fundraising journey that was, I don't know, enjoyable, or like, what is it that, like, what drives you to get in, do the fundraise, right? Like, uh,
Yeah. So fundraising happens parallelly with creating the product. When you're
mhm,
creating your startup business along with the product, you come to realize that A, you want to do this and not want to do this. There are sometimes pivots also happen. So you change your idea also. And every time you're creating the product, you realize how much more money will the startup need to build a momentum, to get into cycles of scaling up again and again. Then you come to a number, okay, this is what I want. So that one entire journey, just the mere fact that we as humans can conceive of an idea, think of it, think of a problem that the universe faces, building a solution around it, and then going to the market and raising capital. That itself is a very enjoyable journey because you're putting your heart out there, you're putting your entire passion into it. And that's the difference between passionate work and work. When you're just working for if you're doing a 9 to 5 and you're cursing your boss, you're not really enjoying it. In a startup, more or less, you start enjoying what you're doing, especially as a founder. So that entire part of letting the world know what we are doing was enjoyable. Getting
mhm.
feedback was also very enjoyable, both positive and negative, because with negative feedback, we realized where we are lagging. With positive feedback, it gave us a little bit of more validation. We slept better that day.
Right.
So that entire journey was amazing. Yeah.
Right. So the journey is the reward in some sense.
Journey is the reward. Journey is the reward and
Yeah.
the pain both, but mostly reward.
Right. So when you are talking to investors, right, like there is this myth, or I don't know, maybe you want to dispel it, like of the first 10 minutes makes or breaks the conversation. What's your take on that?
It's a myth. It's purely a myth. I think most serious investors who really have the capital to deploy take their time to understand the business. And the journey of understanding the business also provide you at least an hour. And I'm putting down some number, but at least an hour to understand where you're coming from. And there are a lot of profiles of founders. Not everybody is a good orator. While you need to be a good orator and need to be good with storytelling, not everybody is. And typical examples are your scientists and your deep tech founders who are building hardware stuff. So 10 minutes is not really the benchmark, but yes, it sets the tone of the discussion. The investor starts picking up, okay, the quality of energy starts coming down. So your start needs to be on the heavier side. But is that a myth or reality? I think it's a complete myth. Yeah.
Got it. So what's your ideal advice for how do you start that 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes? How do you set the context for the investor to be interested?
Yeah. Give them at least one data point that makes them feel that they want to spend the next half an hour, 1 hour with you. And that one data point could be anything like, hey, I'm building in 100 billion market opportunity. Hey, there are 30,000 people daily who face waterborne diseases. Hey, the air pollution problem, India is 7 or 8 out of 10 cities. So give them at least one data point in your first 10 minutes to make them hooked to what you're trying to do. That's the most easiest thing. And be confident. Even in your bad days, even in your good days, even if you fought with your boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever that might be, look confident, be professional, be into the game because you are the one who is seeking this help from the investor. The investor is not always seeking the help from you. There will be a time for that too. In the early stages, the leverage is more with the investor. So be professional, confident. Yeah.
Interesting. So uh, confidence, drop a hook, which is usually a very, very important metric that creates an interest in them and a curiosity in them. That's basically it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think that comes through a lot of straightforward clarity, right? Like just knowing what your product is, knowing what you're trying to build, and also being honest, right? Like I think That's one
Yeah,
thing that's very underrated, right? Like,
yeah.
uh, you want to share some anecdotes of really good, like first 10 minutes with investors that you had while raising with Renured, that you had that sense that it was, this is going to happen, right? You want to
Yeah.
share some success stories there?
First 10 good minutes. I think we are in a very nuanced and complicated market. The product that we are building, this is called the voluntary carbon market. So we, in the most simplest terms, if I have to say what we do to set some context, we are like the
Yes,
Robin
please.
Hoods of climate change. So Robin Hoods of climate change in the sense that we take money from the rich polluters and then invest into climate positive projects by an instrument called carbon credits. But how does the market work? Whether the investor knows about that or not? What are the market infrastructure looking like? And this was in 95% cases, the investors didn't realize what a voluntary carbon. I can see a couple of people at least who do realize in this audience, but investors didn't. So for us, we had to dumb it down to this Robin Hood theory also. Okay, this is what we do, and this was also a lot of learning. So we used to start our pitch earlier with, "Hey, we're into voluntary carbon market," and their face used to tell they don't know anything about it. Then we pivoted into saying we are the data and governance layer for carbon markets, and then more people started realizing. Then we started to say this is a buyer supplier journey, and we are the audit party between. So more people started realizing. So once we reached a point where our narrative was clear, and the investor also was very familiar into what we are building. And again, this brings to a very important point that as a founder, your GTM on capital should be very strong. What does that mean? You should know which investors you need to pick point. You can't spray and pray and go to all the investors, because these investors are also creating what is called the top of the funnel. They are just writing down names, X number of founders we spoke to, because they have to take money from somebody else. That somebody else is asking how many founders you spoke to. So all becomes very murkier. So have very clear GTM on capital, which investors you want to go to. So coming back to our journey, once our narrative was clear, we knew who are we approaching. These people were familiar with what we are doing. We told them, hey, we have a science community of about 93 scientists spread across 5 nations. You can see the twinkle in the eye. You sometimes you just know that this is gonna work. At least this will bring for a second conversation. We're like, okay, and then we said that 93, 86% PhD holders, 68% women coming back to work. They're the first ones to do it in the global south from the developing nations, for those who don't know this terminology. But we're the first one to do this in the developing nations, and we're creating a technology layer to solve for verification in the carbon markets. I knew at least one of these words will stick. Either the scientist layer, or the woman empowerment layer, or the technology layer, or the data and governance layer, or just the money layer. And this again goes back to the point that I was trying to create, that have those hooks in your narrative, which makes people realize, okay, we want to have a conversation with this person. So yeah.
So that's a fantastic thing. Like, so it took time for you to like go with what your initial pitch was and keep refining it over meetings before you actually figured out the things that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
uh,
there are days that I've spent talking to the mirror also just to improve my pitch. And this is all
right,
investor pitch. Now there is sales pitch also, and there is stakeholder pitch also. There are multiple pitches also that you have to do. So yeah, tough
right,
work
right,
about a
right.
founder's life. Yeah.
So while you were doing all of this, you were also building platform. You're also going to customers. You're also. It's not like the whole company is on hold and you're like doing
No, no.
fundraise alone, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah. Which is why you need co-founders. You need people to help you out on the journey.
yeah,
And I think having teammates is that a like is that something that reassures investors that it's not just some guy walking in with an idea, like he has a team that believes in this idea and is working along with them, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. Surely does. Not just the team, but the quality of team also. And then again, those complementary skills that I spoke about, who is doing what and why, what is their backgrounds that they are coming forward with. And let me be very clear about backgrounds. People have started caring less about academic backgrounds. They want to more understand real examples of experiences that the people might have had. I think in our co-founding team, we are 80% former founders. So that
mm.
also kind of helped, because they knew the hustle that this will take into. Yeah, so it kind of helps. Yeah. Helps a lot.
So team building is like validation for the idea in itself before any investor validates the idea, right? Like,
Sometimes, not always. Sometimes your friend circle is so big that they want to jump into whatever you're doing, and then everybody falls into a lake. So it makes no sense. But sometimes it is. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So the one other question I got here from somebody, and I thought it was just interesting, right? Like, and I want to put you in the investor seat for this, right? Like,
Okay. Let's do that.
uh, if I gave you two founders, one with mediocre traction but clarity, and one with strong traction but chaos, who gets funded?
Okay. How do you define chaos? What's chaos over here?
Uh,
Mental chaos.
doing Yeah, I mean, like building too many features, maybe, and like no clear focus, but like there is sense of like a lot of traction and hype around it, right? Like,
Yeah. Early stages, I would invest into the one who has clarity, at least at the early stages. Later stages, things are slightly more complicated. So I can't
mhm.
comment on that. Early stages, clarity is super important.
Clarity is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How different is life for you from when we were working as a VC to like to now start your own foundership, right? Like, I know it's not new, but like I know it's a different time zone in your life that you're starting again, right? Like,
Yeah.
so what's that journey been like?
So I realized one of the things very early, not very early, I would say, but at least while I was VC and we were working together, that
Mhm.
I enjoy looking into multiple ideas at the same time rather than just doing one thing completely out of this. And then I decided to be a founder, which is a single idea. So I thought, how can I work on multiple ideas within the single idea? And that is how carbon markets happen. Because in carbon markets, you're writing methodologies, algorithms, and technology for multiple scientific ideas. So what that did is it got me closer to climate, it got me closer to technology, it got me closer to money. I'm a Marwadi and a Gujarati. So it got me closer to money, but it also got me to stick to one basic idea of scaling the startups. So yeah, life's
That's
been good.
the
Life's been amazing. There's more
yeah,
ownership involved now. Let's be
yeah,
candid about it.
yeah,
When you're working for somebody and an employer, the ownership percentage is less. When you're doing it yourself, the
right,
ownership is more, but the responsibilities are far more greater. The time you have
yeah.
to put in is, yeah. I think we have been doing about 100 hours a week for God knows for the last 2 years at least. So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, and still you look younger by the day.
You do. Thank you. Touch wood. Got married, so yeah, you have to look younger.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I want to touch more about like investing was on climate. You had quite a bit of experience doing that, and then why climate, right? Like, what's the catch been, right? Like for you especially, I think it's starting to feel like it stems from a personal place.
Yeah, and now I can go back to the personal journey.
Yes.
So yeah, so I've always been socially driven. I think this happened right from school days, and it could be because of my family. It could be because of my circles around me, and they were all social evangelists in their own ways. So I got into chemical engineering, but I knew there's nothing to do with hydrochloric acid. It's still gonna remain HCl no matter what you do. So I started working on water purification, trying to figure out ways of creating a zero wastage water purifier, which I did. Then I did a lot of work on renewable energy, built a solar tractor, did work with converting mobile waste into solar panels, and I just used to enjoy. For me, my
This is your
heroes.
engineering era.
This is my engineering era, yeah,
Yeah.
2010 to 15.
Right.
And my heroes have, like, everybody has their own childhood heroes. My childhood heroes are Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson and all of these folks. So I used to enjoy doing all of this, and then life happened, and somebody said, "Hey, go and appear for the UPSC exam." And I did try that too, and it didn't work out. So I said, "Okay, no more bureaucratic stuff happening for me. Let's go back to pure sciences," which led to manufacturing, which led to a lot of work in consulting also, which led to Build 3, the VC environment, which now leads to Renucred. In the middle, I did a degree in law, so I have an engineering and a law background. Things just kept connecting. So
Yeah, now you're like oddly building in that intersection, right? Like
Yeah,
there is a lot of policy meets engineering at Renucred.
yeah,
Tell
yeah.
us all about Renucred. Like, go for it. Like, I want to know every single thing.
Okay. So, in the most layman terms, there are three ways to save the world. First principles approach. The first way is when the government will say, don't emit more than a certain number of CO2. Like, don't do more than a certain number of CO2. And I'm using the word CO2 and greenhouse gases interchangeably. So,
Okay.
greenhouse gases are CO2, methane, SOx, NOx. All the kala dhua is basically GHG. Yeah. So government will ask you for a tax. I think Sweden does that today. Colombia does that today, and this tax is anywhere from 160 to $200 that you have to pay to the government as a industry. I'm talking B2B now, not B2C, but more B2B.
Mhm.
The second way is government will say, "Hey, Pranav and Abhimanyu, you both manufacture cement. Don't emit more than 10 tons, please." Now Abhimanyu does 11 because Abhimanyu is notorious. Pranav is the good guy. He does 9. So Abhimanyu will come to Pranav and say, "Hey, boss, please take this money. Set this 110 in your quota. We are trading emissions." So this is called an emission trading scheme, and this is something the government of India has also just recently introduced. We'll have the emission trading exchange ready by Gandhi Jayanti, hopefully this year.
Mhm.
Now, over here, the government is involved. No real project happened. So it is called a compliance market. There's a third one where you do real projects. You do solar, you do EV, you do agroforestry, you save the mangroves, you do direct air capture, carbon capture utilization. 1 ton of CO2 avoided, reduced, or removed by your work is equal to one carbon credit. Okay? So you go to a buyer, you go to a polluter, and now there are two kinds of folks on the other side who are buying these
Right.
credits. One are the ones who do it for regulatory reasons. There is some regulation. They're coming out with an IPO. They want to let the world know they are good folks. So they will buy it. The other do it for altruistic reasons. Take for example Microsoft. It says we won't just eliminate our today's emissions. We'll go back in the history to 1975 and reduce all our emissions. So buyer meets seller, everything looks good, but a seller can't directly walk to a buyer and say, "Boss, I have 1,000 credits." It needs to go through a verification body, through an auditor, which in the technical world, in the carbon world, is called a standard and registry. SNR. So until so far, India didn't have any great SNRs. There were a few, but they were largely focused on just particular kind of projects, and there was no tech-enabled standard and registry. So there were three, four big problems. The first problem was that the entire market was corrupt. These standard and registries can sanction projects that were not even there in the first place. So
Mhm.
suppose there's a solar system that says 25 years of solar. 5 years down the line, there's an apartment over there. So there's a lot of corruption in the market. Second is the quality of project needs to be uncertain. The third thing is even today the people who are doing good need to pay money to enter the market, which is so counterintuitive. I'm the
Right.
one setting solar, I'm the one doing EV, I'm the one paying to get carbon credit. And the fourth problem is nobody knows what a carbon market is. Nobody knows that a solar sells at $1, but a biochar sells close to $150 a credit. And why does all of that happen? So we at RenewCred do four things. We work with the science community to write amazing algorithms or methodologies that calculate carbon credits. We apply Murphy's law. We let the buyer and the seller know this is the accurate measurement of carbon credit. Then we once we have written the science, we build the technology. So we write the software behind it so that the buyers and sellers can log into a dashboard and see how the asset is performing. When I say asset, I mean solar panels or the direct air capture unit, etc. The third thing we do is we enable transactions. So we don't charge the supplier. It's completely free for the people who are doing good for the planet. We only charge when the credit is sold. So we take a certain money to run all of this. And fourth thing we do is we educate the market. So we're running quick, coming out with a lot of education products.
Mhm.
So the summary of this entire monologue is we use science and technology to save the world. That's what we do at Renewcred. Yeah.
Awesome. As always, like mission from Abhimanyu, right? Like use science and tech, save the world, become a billionaire, right? Like
Uh, Become a billionaire someday, but the first two
in
are
the
happening right
process.
now. In the process.
The first two are more important. The third
First
should be
one.
a byproduct.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Awesome. No, I want to dig deeper on the carbon credits marketplace. You are also the second marketplace on Fireside. We had a marketplace for artists last week. who were here, and they were solving a very different problem, right? Like getting two groups of people together to really
Yeah.
create. So, does Renucred only deal with like engineered carbon credits or non-engineered as well? What's
Yeah.
the story behind both of them? Like, how is the Indian government dealing with all of this stuff? Uh, and my sort of biased interest in the non-engineered carbon credits come from my own interest in agri and aquaculture and things like that, right? Like, so yeah,
Yeah.
so loaded question. Please go ahead.
Awesome. So there are two kinds of project. One are, and this is our definition. The definition also keeps evolving in the carbon market. So one are what are nature based. The word itself says you set up a forest, you do mangroves, you do regenerative farming that you spoke about, where the nature itself sequesters carbon. So this
Hmm.
is what nature based. The other is where our definition is a machine part is involved. EV vehicles, solar energy, direct air capture, biochar, both industrial, artisanal. So this is where a machine part is involved, and there are some overlaps also. For example, biochar, you are actually feeding agricultural waste to a machine called pyrolyzer. Now,
Hmm.
agricultural waste is nature, but pyrolyzer is machine based. So we classify that into engineered.
Okay.
Now, the problem with nature based is suppose I set up a forest of 100 trees. I don't know the quality of soil. I don't know the quality of seed. I can't put an IoT inside a tree and expect the tree to tell me how much carbon it saved today. So
Hmm.
the accuracy is not 100% with nature based, while they're great projects. In non nature based or engineered, I can actually put a IoT or a sensor and get live verified data. And that is why at RenewCredit we are saying we've started with doing only engineered and non-nature based. We are not saying we won't get into nature based in due course of time, which we will. But right
Hmm.
now our exclusive focus is engineered and non-nature based. So that a lot of data can be provided to the buyers so that there is no greenwashing. Now there have been a lot of incidences of scams in the market, even by the topmost registries. So we want to nullify all of that, and that is why we are taking the engineered carbon credit approach right now. Not that I hate forests, not that I don't want to grow trees. I've been having commented I was a hater of forests. I'm not that person. I enjoy my nature also. But at least in Renewcred, that's the case. Answering your second question is Government of India right now. So Government of India has released something called the CCTS scheme, Carbon Credit Trading Scheme. It's on the compliance part number one, where we are going to trade emissions. Two entities are going to trade emissions. So about nine of these hard to abate sectors have been asked. So what are hard to abate sectors? Sectors that emit a lot of emissions. Your steel, cement, concrete. Power is also one of them, but power is not part of the CCTS, unfortunately. But these will now start exchanging or trading into carbon emissions. That is what the government is doing. They've also written some methodologies for the voluntary carbon market as well. But as you can hear me speaking, the voluntary carbon market is as good as the buyer accepting the methodologies. So only due course of time will tell us how good or not so good they are. But that's where the government of India is. It's an important move because we reach net zero by 2070. Our neighbors reach very fast than even us. So we have to do a lot of work on carbon. When I say we, I mean India as a nation. We need to do a lot of work on climate change very fast. Also, given the fact that our energy requirements are going to rise by 3x, they're not coming down anytime. And this is well documented by the government of India and the India Cooling Action Plan as well. So, kind of screwed at climate right now. Let me be very candid about it. So, let's see
Hmm.
how the future holds.
Right. So, what do your day-to-day look like at Renucred? Like, what are the functions that's happening? Like, how do you, like, who are your buyers? Who are your customers? Who are your sellers? Like, how are you dealing with all of this?
Yeah. So I will go in the reverse order, who the buyer, seller,
Yeah.
and what the day looks like. On the supply side, we work with standalone project developers. Now, these could be NGOs who are trying to do amazing work. These could be startups who are bringing a new technology into the market. Or these could be well established SMEs or larger corporations as well who are trying to do some climate positive projects. We're also working with the government. There's a department within the Chandigarh government called CREST, Chandigarh Renewable Energy Society. We are issuing the solar carbon credits for them. So government, anybody basically doing good for the planet, that becomes the supplier of the credit. On the buyer of the credit, there are two, three profiles. These could be direct corporations who buy. there are some brokers and traders also of carbon credits, because the value of credit is also increasing with time. Especially, say for example, biochar, it was at 70 $80 a couple of years ago. It's now come closer to 185. Exomad is selling at $185 to Microsoft. So there is some economic arbitrage over there. And then there are private exchanges for carbon credits as well. So the day looks like talking to the suppliers, talking to the buyers, talking to the technology team, talking to the scientists, talking to the internal operations team, ensuring everything is in place. So, and then hiring amazing folks. So
Yeah.
doing that is also very important. As a company, we have seen zero churn in 2 years. Like nobody has left the
Wow.
company. Yeah, and that's been very important for us, and a good milestone for us so far. I think our culture has been quite open and good. We are a remote company completely. There is no micromanagement. Every quarter we just keep checking into one another. कैसा लग रहा है? बढ़िया है, मजे आ रहे हैं, ठीक है.
Right.
So yeah, that happens.
Yeah, that's always sign of something good happening.
Yeah.
There is high ownership. You don't need to micromanage. I believe is always a sign of a very good team getting together to do something great. Obviously,
Yeah.
um, amazing, amazing. Yeah, I'm going to take this question because it's kind of directly related to what we're talking about. Point source capture also included in the carbon credits market. Okay, Priyam, please chat with us and tell us more.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. Thank you, old friend of mine.
Oh, okay, nice.
Uh, Great. No, I was actually thinking like director capture, right? So yeah, there we get the carbon credits and stuff. Point source means the industrial CO2 which is coming out. And
Yeah,
then if you can actually, so do you also get carbon credits with respect to that?
we do, and that's the
Okay,
differentiation. That's the most layman differentiation between CCU and DAC. So CCU is when
exactly.
you do it in Setu, DAC is when you do it standalone. Sorry, a little technical, but DAC is direct air capture. When you're directly capturing CO2 from the atmosphere by using this gigantic machines that just suck in CO2. You pass it through a chemical called a solvent, then you try to remove CO2. Priyam, please correct me where I'm wrong. You try
Yeah.
to remove the CO2 and then put it in the depths of soil or utilize it in some sense. That is direct air capture. When you do it directly on a machine, it is called carbon capture. In the latest budget, if you heard Nirmala Tai, she spoke about 20,000 crore to be invested into CCUS projects in India. Great move. It was always on the cards. We are going to have about 56 hotspots that have been identified out in the government. Don't quote me on the numbers because the numbers also keep revolving a lot, but a lot of work on CCUS happening in India. Yeah. Yeah, Priyam. So yes is the answer. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Priyam, for joining.
I think somebody wanted to share some words, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I
Sridharan is
think, yeah. But I have so many more
ah,
questions still. Sridharan, please don't mind. We'll take questions ongoing, but if you have something to have a discussion about, we'll keep it towards the end. Yeah, so where were we? All about carbon credits, right? This is not a normal Saturday morning conversation that spawns into a startup, right? Like this is not like let's go after buyers and sellers of carbon credits. Where did the idea originate? And how did the work sort of begin?
So when I was doing water purification work, a bit of my work and a lot of my colleagues' work were fetching carbon credits, and these were bought by buyers in America. So I knew about carbon market, and then I saw the entire evolution of carbon markets in India. We had a scheme called Perform, Achieve, and Trade (PAT). Then there was an experiment called the Surat ETS, where the textile sector industries they were trading carbon credits, and then got into Ahmedabad ETS. So I saw all of this happening. I was excited about it, and I just told myself, money can't solve all our problem. Perhaps it can solve the climate change problem. So, and what you rightly pointed out, I was looking for an intersection of policy, law, engineering, and financial markets. It just happened naturally for me. Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, essentially, uh, okay, you started, and then you started telling you mentioned your friend who you were talking to about this, and
Yeah.
he became your co-founder basically. Um, Yeah, yeah. What was the point where you guys realized that like this has to have institutional funding, or like when was that? When did you decide that you this is it and you are going to go all in on it, right? Like, and what drove those decisions in some sense?
I think, at least for me, I can say I put in all the savings that I had into just brainstorming, talking, thinking about the product. And Bangalore is an expensive city vis-a-vis other cities, so it had its own economic downside as well. Which brings back to the question, why Bangalore? Because I was selected for a program by a VC fund called Antler, where they lock in about 100 founders in a room. So that's how Bangalore happened for me. And
Hmm.
tech was here, and the capital players were over here. So I somehow, and I love the weather, not the traffic. So somehow
Right.
I decided to stay in Bangalore. So we put in all our money. At least I did put in all my money that I had, and there was some sense of the product being formed that we can expand it, we can scale this. And
Hmm.
scale was not your I will invest, like I can make 100, not that kind of scale. We said this can scale 10x, 20x also if done properly, if done
Hmm.
using technology. So technology and science we knew we wanted to do. We knew this is the financial projection looking like. We created all of those numbers, and then we to asked ourselves, do we really want to invest the next 10 years doing this? Minimum 10
Hmm.
years doing this. And they say we, this was me and my co-founder. We said yes, maza aa raha hai, karna hai. And that is when we started approaching the institution. We look for grants first. Startup India
Hmm.
Seed Fund is how it all started, because
Right.
Startup India Seed Fund allows you either 20 lakh grant or 50 lakh CCD. And we knew it makes no sense to apply for a 20 lakh grant. We directly applied for a 50 lakh CCD. And that's where our first investor came in, and we got the entire 50 lakh. And then Bill 3 pitched in, and the other investors came in. So yeah, it was fun doing all of this.
Yeah, I mean, great point that you bring up, right? Like, tell us the grants journey, especially, right? Like, what are your thoughts about it? I also know that recently on the Build 3 group that we're both part of, you just like freely gave away so much info about grants, right? Like, yeah, please, like, enlighten us.
Yeah. So there is a lot of grant capital available in the market right now, at least Indian markets when I'm talking about, for founders who are trying to build their startup. Why is this grant given? This is largely given by government with the hope that you will conceive of a product, you will build a business that will employ at least 10 people. You will scale to a certain number, and so that the taxation that you provide brings the money back into the business, into the government cycle, but at least you've employed 10 people. That's the mindset that the government has right now with as far as grant is concerned. And there are private institutional grant as well. So you have to figure out what are some grants within your focus areas. Now we are into climate and social impact, which has the maximum grants. So we knew that is going to happen. And I had some work done identifying these grant bodies. The next thing that was really required was to understand what is the focus areas of these grant bodies and whether it is good enough for us to apply or not. So some grants are provided to build your prototype, some grants are provided to scale your startup. And that's how the first grant that I spoke about, the Startup India Seed Fund, happened. And we have received about three grants so far, amounting to close to about 60 lakhs. So those three grants happened. Grants are amazing.
Mhm.
They don't dilute your capital, in the sense that they don't dilute your shareholding, in the sense that you don't have to give your piece of company to that other party. You don't have to return the money also in most cases.
Right.
This is capital available to you to enable your product and services. The only slight downside over there is that there's a lot of paperwork when you get a grant. So you have to report where exactly you utilize the money, what happened with it. Did you
Mhm.
really utilize it for the purpose for which the grant was given to you to not, or you went to Bangkok with the money? So all of that
Right.
needs to be reported very well. So that's the only thing with grants. Yeah.
Right. So, like, tell me more about the decision between taking the debt over the grant, right? Like, with the yeah.
So debt in most cases not available upfront at early stages. That requires some kind of either collateral or some kind of run rate or traction, which in India typically is after 1.5 CR. So, or you have some land or property that you can take debt against, which is called a property linked debt. So that is not
Mhm.
available at early stage. And like I said, grant is for a lack of a very better word, free money. Let's put it that way.
Right.
So, and the first idea was कि नहीं dilute करना है क्योंकि initially समझ में नहीं आता whether the startup will make sense or not. Why do we, as a founder, the only thing I have limited is my share percentage, not even number of
Right.
shares. The number of shares you issue new every time. Your
Yeah.
percentage of share is limited. Everything is unlimited for you. So we were trying to conserve that, and that is why we went for grants first, and then we
Right.
used an instrument called the CCD to raise funds. So yeah.
Right. How does the CCD work?
Huh. So the full form is Compulsory Convertible Debenture. This is basically somebody giving you money
Mhm.
with the promise that they are not putting a valuation of the company right now, but in the future round, whatever valuation you do, they will get a discount on that for their equity shares. Now let me make it simple, further simple. Suppose they give you 100 rupees. This 100 rupees is yours, you're using it, and you do a future round at about 1000 rupees. Your company's valuation is 1000 rupees. So 100 by 1000, they can get 10%, but they came in early. So you will give them
Mhm.
15-20% more shares. So instead of 10, they will now get 12%. So your
Right.
benchmark to a future valuation. And this is slightly more nuanced because CCDs have something called a cap and floor. So cap is that this is the maximum the valuation of the next round can go till, and floor is it won't come below that. But CCDs normally work that way. Again, there's a misconception that if I raise through CCDs, it's a loan, I have to give back money, there's an interest rate involved. There's an interest rate which is very nominal. It's called a coupon rate, like 0.01%. And in no fundraise anywhere at any point, you have to give back the money. You have to give them back money only if you're raising debt, which Pranav just spoke about. But in other cases, you don't have to give back the money in that sense. Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, the
Right. Right.
investor would want you to give back the money, which is called an exit, and that is why
Yeah.
they invested in the first place. But again, don't be under the pressure that this is a loan and there will be people sitting at your home. That doesn't normally happen. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So CCDs, debt, equity. So you raised a compound of all of this, basically.
A compound of CCD and grants.
Okay.
No debt in
No. No.
equity so far. Yeah. No
Okay.
pure play equity, but obviously the CCDs will convert into equity only. So it's called an equity round. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So can you talk to us about like if there is any drama in the VC world, like the one accusation that keeps coming up against Indian investors, which is also here in our chat very quickly, is that they only fund the IITs and the IIMs. What are your thoughts on that?
Answering your second question first, I think that there was a period before COVID when this was happening, when your educational pedigree became very important in the idea itself. That has died down now, thankfully. There is no longer this IIT, IIM craze. Also, because the number of IIT and IIMs have increased so much that that itself has become a commoditized product now. But
Mhm.
there's no longer this IMT, IM craze. There are great funds who clearly say that we're looking for the work, not just the education pedigree. So that's died down. Stories, if you felt that Kasauti and Kyuki were drama, VC world is more drama than that. So there are a lot of stories over there. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to share some of your worst encounters with VCs while raising for Renucreds?
Couple of them. There was this one investor who had just taken, who he'd himself left a larger fund. The fund actually exited India, and then he requested one of our other investors who had already put in money to speak to us. Comes to the call and said that carbon credit will be the last thing I will invest in, but I still want to hear you. I was like, why the f do you want to do that? So that was one. There's this another community, they call themselves a found. Every time I hear the word community, I get scared. So there's the another founders community, and they invest into startups, and some startup they are called by. And then they called me again and again. You want to invest, and you're the amazing founder, and this and that. Nothing happened. Another one, I will give you at the valuation you want, plus please give me back the money in cash. So all of these stories do happen here and there. Yeah. You have to be very clear. So again, very important point that I'm trying to create is who you take money from is also as equally important as who you work with. You can't take money from just anybody. You have to be very clear on that too. Are they mission aligned? Are they value aligned? Will they really help you scale, or will they just sit there and just harass you for their own sake? So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it is just another person you're working with, right? Like, and it's yeah, and there is a transaction, right? Like there is this a very clear transaction about uh hey, I'm taking this money to achieve this goal, and in the process all of us will make money. But I think that make money comes from, we'll unlock value for a lot of people, and that's what's going to give us that like return from it, right? Like
yeah.
um incredible. Fascinating, fascinating. Um, yeah. How important was your slide deck? This is the thing. I mean, I make pitch decks for a living, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm guilty as charged, right? Like,
yeah,
but like even I feel so. Even when I'm making the pitch deck, sometimes I'm like, that's the deck is a small part of it, right? Like, and but there's a lot more that goes along with it. Like, so tell me what's the connect with the or the value that the pitch deck brings in an investor conversation, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. I think the value that a pitch deck brings is a lot of visual, because as humans we tend to remember graphics and visuals more than what somebody else is speaking, because that's how the brain works. Now, because that is visual, it is very important to be, and I will do a little bit of marketing for Pranav, to be clean, to just speak minimum content. It should not look like a consulting deck which is full of content. And while you are visually trying to explain somebody what you're doing, you're also speaking at the background. So both go hand in hand. And the idea of a meeting, of an investor meet or a sales pitch also is to convince the other person to talk to you at least one more time. Because if that happens and that happens and that happens, automatically this will convert into a business relationship. So we were guilty as charged. We started with the consulting deck instead of me having all of this VC gyan and everything, because the default mind is that of a scientist. So you want to put everything onto a deck, and we had our learnings, and that's the feedback we spoke about. But pitch decks aid your conversation. Pitch decks don't drive your conversation. Your narrative, your storytelling, your tempo drives the conversation. Pitch track just seals it. It's the graphic closure that you want over there. Yeah.
interesting. And I mean, in your context, very specifically, right? Like, what are the metrics that people were responding to?
Hmm. So in our context, it was number one, understanding of problem solution. Number two, use of technology. Number three, the global market size. Number four, the global players already out there. Number five, how will this go add to the VC scalability story? Like, how do you make exponential money out of this? And number six is what you will do in the immediate short term. Like, what are your 3 month, 6 month, 12-month goals? So this was very important for us. And obviously, the number zero, as I always call it, is who are the founders? Why did they even come together to do this? They could be anything, but why this? So yeah.
Does having capital change the way you work? I mean, more from a emotional, psychological, does your founder mindset change? And this is
It
a
helps.
personal question.
Yeah, that's why I'm taking a little bit of more of a pause. But
Yeah, yeah.
it helps psychologically. It gives you it helps you take more risks. That's the answer.
Okay.
As founders, your business idea is the sum total of all the risks you make, and your life is the sum total of all the relationships you have with other humans. So business is risks and life is relationships. More capital allows you to take more risks, to have more relationships, to further take more risks, and then scale. So that's the psychological advantage that it provides. Yeah.
At what point would you say no to capital?
When I've had a couple of conversations and I know I don't want to pick up the call and call this person,
As simple as that. Oh,
as simple as that.
fantastic. Yeah, that's a great filter. I have a similar filter, which is it's not just capital, right? Like it's work, it's relationship, it's everything, right? Like
Exactly.
sometimes it's as simple as that. If you can't answer a call from the person, why would you take money from them to run your business?
And there's another problem over there. People tend to run away from people who challenge them. As a
Mhm.
good founder, you have to get to people who challenge you, because only then you are going to create great products which others are going to use. So when I say I'm not going to pick up the call, is because A, it is not going to add any value to my life, or B, it is going to suck my energy, and that is why I'm not picking up the call. But it will never be because I know this person is going to challenge me. I look for challenges. So that's again very important. Yeah.
Interesting. So, what does the future look like for you, right? Like, what's the next year look like? Was I mean, I know with the next 10 years is you're dedicated your life to Renured. That's for certain. But like, what does that seem like? What does that feel like? What is that like? What are we to expect from?
Yeah. So the immediate short term, the next 3-4 years is we have set ourselves the milestone of doing about 300 projects in the next three and a half years. We're at 22 projects currently. So scaling that, when I say projects, that is the projects that we will issue carbon credits for, where the credits are sold and the money goes back into the project to do the amazing work that we are doing. So become this enabler for 300 projects. The 15-year goal is the world today has 52 gigatons of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. We want to eliminate at least 2 gigatons of that 52. So I've taken a 4% reduction on our head. This is our big, hairy, audacious goal, as Jim Collins puts it in his book, that we want to do. Personally, I will remain, I think, forever in this space. But next 7-10 years through RenewCred, but along with that, also trying to work with some players on what is called insetting. So in all of this is offsetting. Insetting is when you actually reduce CO2 within your own premises. So you do
Mhm.
innovation, or you bring in some reduction in your own processes. So insetting, legal, and offsetting. This is going to be my life for the next quite a big time. Yeah.
That's super fascinating. Is that like a pull from one of your market sites that is that a request that came from buyers that, hey, if we could inset by ourselves, then, or where did that come from?
That come from the understanding that India is not innovating enough. We are
Mm.
just not building great machines. We are not building great hardware products, at least. There have been some movement thanks to the deep tech movement that India has seen. So take for
Mhm.
example again a topic that we both are familiar with, biochar. How many biochar machine manufacturers do we have in India?
That's true. Wow,
Zero.
it's zero.
It's zero.
So there's
There's no
only importers.
there's no full stack made in India machine right now, pyrolysis machine in India to support biochar. Priam is doing some work on direct air capture. Zero. Complete solar. Zero. No engineered innovation on climate out of India. Zero. So
Interesting.
yeah, we as a nation are not innovating enough, and
Mm.
that's sad for a nation of 1.4 billion people.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like, where does the lack of innovation come from? Is it the love of jugaad? Is it uh, uh,
There's a lot of things. Love of Jugaad, academic frameworks are not supported enough to propel innovation. Those who innovate don't end up being in India or building for India, both the
Mhm.
cases. Lack of capital, lack of early stage experimental capital, because you need a lot of money for doing all of these experiments. So all of that, it's not.
Yeah,
We have done some great work on aviation sector, aerospace. Your
mhm.
Agnikul, Cosmos, and your ISROs, and all of these come out of India. So great work has happened over there.
Right.
Climate, we have done only three things in India: solar, ESG. What
Mm.
else? Only two things, I guess. Solar, ESG, EV. EV, solar, ESG.
Yeah,
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 that's and biochar has
yeah.
just started to pick up, but nothing else.
Mm.
Yeah, the EV, solar, ESG, only three. One is a software tool, so EV, solar just is not going to save you the world. So
Right.
it's a
Yeah,
big
yeah. I mean, there is.
opportunity because a lot of startups ask me, "What do you want to do?" भाई तुम्हारे सर के सामने opportunity बैठी है. हाँ,
If you were not doing anything right now, and somebody was writing you a blank 50 lakhs capital, right? Like check, seed round check, angel round check. What is the top three things that you would work on?
Renucrate, renucrate,
That's
renucrate.
nothing. I knew that. I knew it. I was just going to like put that caveat. You're not working on Renucred, nothing, right? Like,
Okay. No climate also.
no.
Oh
I
shit.
mean, climate is like, I can't like take you out of climate, right? It's like,
Ah,
yeah, I don't think, I think that's like the just a part of your brain now. Like
I
it
know.
comes along with you, right? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, okay, cool. Work in climate, not work in climate, do AI, whatever you want. Like, but like 50 lakhs blank check, not blank check, 50 lakhs check. What is it? What are the top three things that you would like really consider getting into?
Biochar, carbon capture, and hydrogen.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
What, okay, talk to us more about each one.
So biochar is, for those who don't know, it is nothing but processing agricultural waste either through a machine called pyrolysis, a process called pyrolysis. The machine is called a pyrolyzer, or through what in Hindi we call a bhatti, and these are called kontikis. So these are open stoves, and you can slowly cook the agricultural waste. Now, agricultural waste is carbon rich. By doing this pyrolysis, which is cooking it between 250 to 450 degrees Celsius. And there are three kinds of cooking. One is called torrefication, when you do it lower than 250, that is like making a pulao. When you do it between 250 to 450, you are making a biryani, so that is biochar. And when you cook it over 450, it just burns off, that is gasification. I think I
Mhm.
can't do it more simpler than this. So when you create a biryani, the biochar that comes out, it is a soil enrichment product.
Right.
It is option. You can put it in the depths of soil. It will retain water, and by putting in the depths of soil, you're actually locking CO2 into the soil. And some claims say that this is up to 1,000 years. Obviously, nobody has seen it, but simulations say up to 1,000 years you lock CO2. But at the same time, you're also improving the yield of the soil. So your
Mhm.
urea dependence comes down, your NPK dependence come down. Because of your urea dependence coming down, your urea subsidies start coming down. A lot
Mhm.
of good work in your processing agricultural waste. And there's a massive problem in Punjab where parali or stubble farm, you just burn it, you can create biochar out of it, which will improve Delhi's AQI also. So there are health
Right.
benefits also behind biochar. But like I said, machine manufacturing, stainless steel or MS, what kind of machines would look like, decentralized machines. Everything looks like a rosy picture, but somebody has to feed the machine what is called a feedstock or agricultural waste. So, how
Mhm.
do you get the agricultural waste to the machine? How do you create those biobanks? And now, government is talking about coal substitution. So,
Mhm.
coal substitution is where you substitute coal with biochar because coal dependence needs to come down. So, biochar is an amazing space.
Right.
There are about 20 startups that have come up over the last couple of years in India. We're all part of an accelerator called Remove, so I just happen to know of all of them. So biochar is my one. Hydrogen, cleanest fuel, atomic number one on our atomic table.
Right.
Its byproducts are water and water, I think. Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
but then storage of hydrogen is a challenge. Both production we can still solve for, but storage is a challenge. But will bring down
Mhm.
our fossil fuel dependence by a lot, and a lot of companies doing great work on hydrogen. So that's
Mhm.
the second, and we might at some point write a methodology behind hydrogen also at Renucrate. We're already
Right.
write
Right.
we have already written for biochar. We are writing for CCU and DAC right now. And carbon
Okay.
capture, like we just had a discussion, is in using big pumps to suck up CO2 from the atmosphere
Mhm.
and putting into uses where it doesn't re-release into the atmosphere. So that's
Right.
carbon capture. So these three are the most exciting for me right now. Yeah.
Fascinating. I'm so glad you didn't say anything to do with AI. Um,
AI is amazing. It's a great propeller.
yeah.
You have to
Tell
use
us
it
what
in
you
the.
think. How are you using it? Like,
I start my name with A and ended it I, Abhimanyu Rathi. So I'm the AI. But 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 that's how I'm using it. But I think it's an amazing
that's
propeller.
how this show is starting. By the way, now I have my clip. Like that's how the show. My name is.
Got it. But propeller in the sense that the speed of Like I talk to a lot of PhD folks now in my work, and sometimes I feel like I'm very sorry to say this, but sometimes I feel the 4 year work can now be done in 4 days because the
Wow.
speed at which the science is crystallizing, the research work is crystallizing using AI,
Mhm.
it's amazing. It's like the kind of work we did even 2 years ago. We internally were just putting a number, and we could have just vaporized 8 months of our work if we had the kind of AI we have right now. And 6 months down the
Right.
line, it is going to be even more amazing. And I'm very optimistic. I'm not using a pessimist lens over here because you need innovations at a far greater speed. And I missed on one insight. One insight that I personally have is after the World War II, the scientists are not collaborating enough because of your
Mhm.
capitalistic needs or because of patent rights or anything. And one of the things that is why we started the Renucleate Science community. Now, AI will allow for all of that to happen because it will remove the time it takes for research completely out of the game. So now, if two people have the
Right.
same level playing field, they have to either figure out who the better one is or start collaborating. So you will see a lot of
Mhm.
amazing stuff happen down the line. Obviously, there are some concerns also, ethical AI and all of that are also popping up, which will still be there.
Right.
But so speed of research, speed of deployment, speed of operations, deployment in the sense understanding where to go with which technology, operations is understanding how to actually implement the technology at site. All of these are getting improved by AI now. So exciting times.
Yeah, tell me exactly how research. How are you using AI with research? Right. Like.
Yeah, so let me boil this down. So when we write these methodologies, the algorithms that I spoke about, and they have multiple subparts to it. The one part is called what is called a
Mhm.
life cycle analysis. So how do you give carbon credit? Suppose I'm giving a carbon credit for solar energy. I will say solar used X emissions. Same amount of thermal would have used Y emission. So Y minus X is the carbon credits you get for reduction of emission. Now, this entire life cycle of how much thermal would have used, what are its efficiencies, what are some components that went into creating it, understanding of all of this. I can just feed data points to something like a notebook LM or GPT also for that matter, and then train it through prompt engineering or through just create just simple prompts, train it to give me an answer. So AI
Mhm.
reduces all of this time of research, all of this life cycle analysis. Then if you're working with multiple materials, because you have to understand the emission it took into creating that material also in the first place, you can just throw all the materials to it and it will tell you what those emission numbers are and factors are and give you some live calculations. Then there is something called as a linear regression model where you put all the data together and run a maths model for you. I think AI is doing, I wouldn't say 100% accurate job because we find a lot of errors in our own work through AI, but
Right.
it's doing a good job. And these days I have two screens, Claude and GPT. I take Claude to GPT, GPT to Claude. So that's what I'm doing. My wife is like, "कर क्या रहा है तू?" Like, जीवन है
You're
भाई
getting
कर.
the best of both worlds, or
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
getting having a little war in your own room, right?
I think Nawal Ravikant just posted day before yesterday that it is no longer about who is the junior or senior in a office. It is good with AI and not so good with AI. So
Wow.
that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
you think so?
I think so. I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. That's where the world is going, and it's always been the case. Now, the one who uses technology ends up winning. Survival
Mhm.
of the fittest, but the fittest over here is now technology. So you have to use technology. You can't run
Right.
away from it. Yeah.
How are you seeing the world change? Like, do you think the future of work is interesting? The future of work is going to be boring? Like, yeah, with AI, with all of this rapid innovation that's happening suddenly.
See, if you remove the fact that people need to work to earn money, if that entire notion is removed, we all end up becoming artists and poets and creative thinkers because end of the day that's what humanity is for.
Mhm.
And if AI is going to drive us that way, where it says that, boss, I will do the coding, I will do the robotics, I will do the machine manufacturing for you. You just tell me or get me the materials and go and live your life. There's no harm in it. It is
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. There's no harm in it. So I think that's where we are heading towards. My only concern is with energy right now.
Hmm.
How do you produce energy enough? How do you create those data centers? That's my only concern. How do you create sustainable data centers? But I think we're heading towards the right direction. And now somebody will say, it, hey, the Terminator jaisa hai, and the AI is going to use the world and they're going to take over us and all of that. I don't know, boss. I'm enjoying this. I'm loving where we are right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool beans. Let me just check for a question from somebody who has sent me mails. Oh, yeah, this is a really good question. The day you closed your funding, one, what was your mood like? Two, what was the kind of pressure that you were feeling, or were you feeling any pressure at all?
Yeah. Pressure was slightly there because one of the things that the CEO of the company has to do is ensure the company is financially well fed. So that
Hmm.
salaries come on time, products come on time, you have experimental work. Because the moment the money comes down, the first thing that walks out of the door is culture. And
Hmm.
then you have all these KPIs and I don't know what not, and micromanagement comes in, all of that happens. So pressure was there as the CEO because I'm wearing the CEO's hat right now. I hope I don't in the long run, but I'm doing that right now, so that pressure was there. Now funding in itself is a step function. You get a little, then you get a little, then you get a little. So this exuberance is not there. Hey, we are done. That is not there. But we did end up cutting a small cake. One of our investors and now great friend Piyush was around at home, so we cut the cake and we planned it for Makar Sankranti, so we announced it. And
Nice.
then we went back to work. So yeah.
So it's not a graduation ceremony. It's just another milestone, another step
Yeah.
along the way.
Most success is
Fascinating.
just step along the way. Once you reach the top of the ladder, now what's the next? What next? What next? The next is revenue. Once you have revenue, the next would be let's scale. When you scale, the next would be exit. When you exit, would be next would be now IPO. So I don't know. IPO is also a function of exit only, but you never know.
Hmm.
Yeah. Most success is not as fascinating as it looks from outside. Yeah.
Yeah, you said you'd be candid. I love it. Uh, yeah. Question on impact investing, right? Like, is it? How do you think about it? Is it something that people are doing? Is that terminology helping the people who are trying to be impactful, or is it creating an interesting converse effect where because there is a certain focus or a limelight being put on impact investing, it's drawing all the wrong moths to the fire in some sense.
There are only one or two impact investors that I've come across who say, hey, go build your startup and I don't want any exuberant exits or I
Hmm.
don't want that IRR returns that the VCs are looking for.
Hmm.
Most impact, the word impact investing or impact serves the VC fund more rather than the startup. Why does it serve the VC fund? They are raising money from people who feel that this fund will invest into climate or social impact or create some story for us. But when it comes to the fund level, the people who are deploying capital, they have the same lens as conventional investment. So for a
Hmm.
startup, if you hope I will tap into impact investment and by the virtue of that, I can get easy capital and less guardrails and I don't have to hit scale and I can be a wellness spa with a Buddha in my gate and I can just generate that 12%. Please don't build startups. Let me be very honest about it. There is no impact startup when it comes to funding the startups. They everybody wants money at the end of the day. That's how the world works. Everybody wants
Hmm.
to earn money out of this. So impact serves the LPs to the GPs to the fund who deploy capital into impact startups. But even impact startups need to generate the same amount of money as other conventional startups. So yeah, yeah.
Fascinating. Did you have to negotiate with your investors on valuation and things like that?
Yeah, yeah,
And how does that work? Yeah.
yeah. Every time with every investor, I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You negotiate on valuation, you negotiate on terms and condition into the agreement, you negotiate on how the exit might look like, if any, for the investors and for you. You
Hmm.
negotiate on what percentage of shares will be vested as a founder. Will you get some percentage to share also in when you on day zero or not? So a lot of negotiation happens, and those who don't come from a legal background can perhaps do with not a very big number name lawyer, but at least have some legal friend or somebody go through the agreement, because sometimes there are some clauses that can create hurdles not for the company but for the next round of raise. Because next time when you're raising from somebody, they are going to see into acha, who is the agreement, what does the agreement say. So you don't want to get into all those trouble. Sometime even for investment of as small as 5 lakh, the investor wants a director seat on your board. You don't want to do all of that stuff. But
Right.
the board of directors decides the management of the company. The CEO just works at the lieu of at the lieu नहीं कहूँगा, at the mercy of
But
the
the
board.
yeah.
In that sense, yeah. So CEO does that. So you have to understand how does the hierarchy also works in the company, and then map it to the agreement. Again, AI is a good tool over there. You
Mhm.
can just put the entire agreement in
So, like, what
GPT.
are like red flag clauses that you should like be aware of?
Liquidation preferences. What's a liquidation preference? If the company doesn't work out, how much money would the investor get first, and then you are left with? Or even if they are taking an exit, who gets what first and how? So these are all liquidation preferences. Then there are some clauses like right of first refusal, tag along rights. So right of first refusal is if another investor comes, will these current set of investors have some right to say, hey, we want to put in the money, but don't take the money from other guy? And if yes, how does that work out? Tag along rights is if these investors are selling their equity, the investors who are right now in a captive, they can pull you and force you into also selling the equity. But what
Mhm.
are some conditions behind it need to be properly laid down. So there are a few of these. So liquidation, ROFR, tag along right investing, and anti-dilution. What is
Mhm.
anti-dilution? Suppose an investor invests 100 rupees in a 1,000 rupee company, they're at 10%. Now, when a new investor comes in, 200 rupees at 2,000, even this 10% will dilute by 10%. So these people will
Mhm.
come at 9%. Now, some of them will say, hey, we have an anti-dilution, which means we will always remain at 10% no matter what. That
Right.
should not happen. And generally, that should not never happens also. But there are some who have just started seeing the instruments that are used with anti-dilution. So this is something
Mhm.
you have to be very careful about. And one most important one is advisory equity. I've seen so many startups just throw away equity, advisory, mentorship equity to venture builders, to startup studios, to mentors, and they add no value at all. So you
Right.
give ownership in your company only when there is long-term value to be added. Somebody is
Mhm.
just coming and talking to you for 2 months, for an hour a week, and you end up giving 2%. भैया मत करो उसको उसको पैसे दे देना बाद में, but don't give them equity right now. Yeah.
Fascinating. I know you have a lot to say to early stage founders in general.
Yeah.
And I just want to open it up for you, like right, like all advice that you want to dole out to people in the early stages, people who have an idea, don't know what to do with it,
Mm.
people who have tried and failed at a bunch of things, right? Like, what is like what do they how do you think they should perceive 2026 and the years coming ahead? What should they be thinking of? What should they be doing? Should they be scared of AI? Should they not be scared of AI? All of that put together, right? Like all you,
Yeah. And just from a fundraising lens or building lens?
both.
Ah,
Start
okay.
from fundraising and then go to building, right? Like, or
Ah,
maybe
okay.
start from building and go to fundraising.
Yeah, I'll start from building. So be very clear of the problem you're solving, not the solution you're solving. Be open to ideas, be flexible, question yourself every now and then what you're doing is right or not. Take a lot of real data, don't be stuck to your solution. And then, if you realize that nothing of this is working, don't have this sunk cost fallacy that I've invested energy, so I have to continue doing that. This is not one of those things we have to need to do. Get good people to work with, people who are really passionate about what they are doing, not just experience. Experience sometimes tends to go wrong, passion doesn't go wrong always. So look for passionate people, look for people you can gel well with. So vibe is a real thing over here. You can gel well with. Be fast, don't be lazy. In most cases, I will suggest don't do this as a moonlighting activity. Be full time involved, because there's a limit to how much the mind can process. Our bodies can take up a lot of load. Sometimes our mind can't take up a lot of load. On fundraising, you need to be great storytellers. You need to have a narrative. You need to be crystal clear about what you are saying, all the data points that you are saying. And one thing that Indian founders lack is the ability to do road shows. So what's a road show? You can't raise by sitting in your room and expect the VCs to come on a Gmeet call and give you the money. You have to go to multiple cities, multiple locations, talk, explain. This is the only area where networking comes handy. I've seen a lot of founders network even without having a product. Then why are you networking, boss? Go and build a product first. But if you have a product, then some networking will help you. So do that. Talk to your peers, talk to your competitors, make them friends, understand from them what is the good, what is the bad they have done. Talk to cross-border companies trying to do the similar things that you are trying to do. There's a lot of inspiration from people building in Africa, people building in South America for the Indian markets today. Take all that inspiration and just be exceedingly happy about what you're doing. And if there are days regularly when you question yourself, "Maza nahi aa raha, this is not enjoying," maybe it's not meant for you. Don't. Life is too short to be behind things that you don't enjoy. So move on. There's too much to do.
Don't fall for sunk cost fallacy. Yeah.
Exactly. Sunk cost fallacy is the word. Yeah.
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 Awesome. Awesome. And from a fundraising perspective, what advice do you have to roll out?
Yeah, from a fundraising perspective, all the things that I spoke about, be clear about your product and solution, have the ability to do road shows, talk to as many VCs as possible, but those who understand your space. So if you're building in climate, don't go to a crypto guy. It won't make any sense. Be wary of people that use too many heavy words. They tend to do nothing. And this is what I have observed. So talk to people who are clear in their own mindset, in their own notes as well. And this applies to life also, not just fundraising, I guess. Uh, don't be disheartened. There will be moments. So startup building is all about what? Euphoria, triumph. You lose, you win, you lose, you win. There's no middle emotion. I think this comes from that book, Hard Things About Hard Things. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So that's what startup building is all about. But you just have to stick in there. Stick in there if you know there is something worthwhile to be made, or else new idea, new day, new idea. Yeah, that's all about it. Life teaches you rather than anything else. Yeah.
Awesome.
मुस्कुराए जिंदगी आपकी भी लेगी.
Amazing. Bibo Swan Roy wants to know how to make friends with competitors.
Most people are good people at the end of the day. They love to talk. If there's somebody who denies talking to you, talk to somebody else. But I've never seen people who don't want to talk about what they're building in spite of being a competitor. I think good people who have done good just want to talk. So talk. Email, WhatsApp, reach out, network. Just do that. Steve Jobs wrote to that HP folks. I think he talks about in his journey. He
He
became the
wrote to Bill Gates
Bill Gates. Yeah.
on the worst day of Apple, right? Like they had cash flow issues, like if you can imagine that, and
Yeah.
requested for $10 million as a thing. And Bill Gates didn't think twice. He signed the check immediately, sent it across, and he said, "If there is no Apple, then like it wouldn't be fun." Right, like
Yeah.
it's basically he
And this
said,
was
like, and
also when Steve Jobs was coming back into Apple from Next. So,
yeah,
and then you have this big screen where Bill Gates appears. So, yeah, just talk.
yeah.
Yeah, just talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that like most founders in the early stage or first-time founders don't realize is that your competitors are actually your colleagues, right? Like they have the same passion for what you're trying the problem statement. They have the same passion to find the ultimate solution to solve it. They're running in the same circles, hopefully, right? Like if you're running the same circles, either you have a very unique insight, something that they don't know, or you're just not like caught up to what they're doing, right? Like all the real market which is there. So I think like Yeah, it's so funny that most people forget that the competitors, most likely their colleague, they most likely understand your day-to-day burdens and pains better than anybody else, right? Like,
And most
um,
most most startup spaces that you build scalable products, they are big spaces, and no competitor will have more than 20% of the market share. So even they want others to coexist for the markets to open up. And if you're
yeah,
building in a very small market, which technically is called a market lesser than 10,000 crore on your TAM, total
hmm,
addressable market, you are in the wrong market. So
right,
today, building in wellness, building in mental health, building in edtech also for that matter, won't might not make sense because the market sizes have condensed a lot.
hmm,
So if competitors are not talking to you, perhaps you need to look back and look at the macro level. Are you in the right market also, not in the first place?
yeah, absolutely. Um, Examples of roadshow, or like elaborate what a roadshow is.
Good one. So roadshow is basically I'm in Bangalore. There's a climate event happening in Chennai where they say they are going to do a demo day and the founder needs to speak. So I go to Chennai. This is how I closed 2.1 CR of the 4.6 CR we raised. Another example of roadshow is the Delhi government, the central government were doing a few climate events in Delhi around carbon markets. They never invited me, but because why would they? But I still went there because I knew it's a fascinating thing. Spoke to a lot of people close to contracts over there. So the ability to move away from your room and actually look at the world, try to talk to people, and then go and pitch your idea and deliver. Think of yourself as the prime minister of your startup, and you have to just go and talk about it. Now you know who I'm referring to and why I'm referring to, but please talk. So yeah,
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 yeah. I think the leave your room advice is most important, right? Like it's so basic, but like it's so much of my life as a mentor is just telling people to get away from their laptop
yeah.
and get in front of people.
And don't
Uh,
outsource this. I've seen this also. Not startup founders, they get some money, they hire a few people, and then they say they are the de facto people who are going to do the investment for us. It will never work out. Two things: sales and fundraise. The founder herself or himself has to do.
Yeah, yeah. I think the first 1,000 customers
Mm.
is sales by the founder. All investor conversations is by the founder. You cannot outsource this to an agency. You cannot like you'll have to do it. I have a slightly different definition about a road show that I want to like share as well. In the YC startup that I was, the idea of a roadshow was insane. Actually, like they used to plan it. So the way they used to do it was they would take 3 months to plan a 1 week roadshow. Right, like
Right.
it was insane, and they had two purposes behind this. So because they and this was something that was apparently handed down through YC itself. The idea was you take the 3 months to prepare everything, right? Like you speak to a lot of people, you build the early relationships, you put your pitch deck together, you do the early testing, all of this stuff. And then 1 week is when they schedule like back to back to back calls or meetings, like with every investor that they have filtered down to be like, these are the top, I don't know, 30, top 40 that you have to, we have to crack it with these guys, right?
Yeah.
Like, and and they do this packed 1 week of non-stop meetings. And that's where the second reason sort of emerges, right? Like when you do it this closely, then most people don't realize that the VCs and investors are also colleagues with each other, right? So it builds a lot of FOMO apparently among all of them. This person is like talking to each one of the big ones, and this is the week within which they have scheduled everything. So yeah, it's an insane way to do fundraising. I think another space that people should really look into is how politicians in the US do fundraising. I think it's a very fascinating way that they go about it, right? Like they host this dinner and it's like 2 lakhs, 4 lakhs a plate to enter, right? Like, because that's the fundraise, right? Like that's where they are doing the fundraise. It's a very fascinating. I don't think there is any one way of doing fundraising, except for that you have to network with people, you have to put yourself in front of the people and like build that relationship with them so that they trust you enough to give you that money, right? Like,
Yeah. And then also, it's just to extend in that, it's going to be a product traction thing. So you
Hmm.
build a product, you go some traction, you get some money, then you build some product, then you get some. So fundraise not always is done all together. So if you're raising say
Yeah, yeah.
4 CR, it's not
Hmm.
necessary one person has to write your 4 CR check.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is somebody who will lead the round. There's somebody will say, this is
Hmm.
the agreement, this is the money I'm putting. We'll go and get more investors also, and that's most likely that is going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have a YC example in India so far. No companies have
Hmm.
reached that level, but those demo days really help a lot. Those
Yeah, yeah,
intensive crammed demo days, yeah.
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 Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna open it up to the people who have spent 1.5 hours with us already. Priyam, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Thank you
buddy.
so much. Yeah, hi. A quick question from my side will be, so suppose somebody is doing carbon capture, and if uh, yeah, I am doing carbon capture, and then I have to sell credits, right? So what are the normal carbon capture companies doing? Are they creating an MRV system in their own company, or we should go to you, and then you have a system of monitoring, reporting, and verification, and then you create the supply side of things, and then you go, and so when you make money, that means, do we also give a part of our money to you for selling carbon dioxide,
Okay.
or no?
I got your question.
Or,
So too many questions, but I
okay.
got your question. Number one, the MRV or the DMRV, whatever the case might be, needs to be created by the project developer. Because if the standard and registry interferes work with the work of the project developer, there will be a conflict of interest. So you as the DAC or project developer need to have a MRV, which can be outsourced also. Number one. As a registry, the standard registry will vet your MRV and might put a technological layer above it. So our tech layer is called Net Zero. So our Net Zero platform will sit on your DMRV and fetch data. We, as a registry, especially Renured and Isometric is another example, we charge on the sell side, demand side transaction. So when the credit is sold, hypothetically, say you say the credit cost is 100 rupees, we say 10 rupees our cost, the buyer will pay 110, we get 10, you get 100. So that's
Got
answered.
it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Priyam, tell us about yourself.
I'm still in the I would say fundraising part of things. So I'm actually getting to know everything from everyone. To be very honest, right now I'm based out of Germany, in Hamburg. But yeah, selling my car and stuff right now. Coming back to India soon, so that's where I am. But and with Abhimanyu, I've been in contact with for the last 2 years or something. We are on and off in contact and learning from him a lot. So yeah, that's where I am based out of.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for joining. Any
Thank you
other
so much.
questions, guys? Anybody else have questions? I think Aviral had questions.
Yeah.
Is he still around? No, I think he's left. But let's take his questions because I'll share the recording with him anyways.
Sure.
Ah, funding available for solo tech founder, but with product, with traction, founder market fit, PMF also there. Interns
Yeah.
and contractors working on it for marketing, development, and everything. I get where this question is coming from. I think the initial part of our conversation, we were talking about like why it's good to have a co-founder, and I think his question is that what happens in a situation where he is a solo founder, but he's found a good team. He's put together the right interns and things to work on it. Will there be a challenge with fundraising, basically?
It depends a lot on how the investor takes it. Most investors in India, I know, demand for one more co-founder. In
Hmm.
our case, in Renucrate's case, we have two. Uh, but then there are some venture builders who say that the number one reason why a startup at the early stage doesn't work out is because the two co-founders end up fighting. And the
Yeah.
data point over there is 68%. So I'm just
Mm.
trying to remember which one of these venture builders, Seed Star, not Seed Star, but one of them said that they would love to fund especially solo founders. So it depends a
Interesting.
lot on how the investor looks at it. If you have everything in order and you have been able to deliver that as a solo founder, I don't think there is any reason why the investors won't invest in you. Aviral is back. So that's the answer. Aviral, quickly answering your first question. Solo founder, good to go. No problems. You can still raise.
Yeah. Aviral's second question. Advice for grant seekers other than applying and nailing the interview and all, like what else can we maximize our chances to get these grants?
Pick up the call and talk to the grant bodies before applying. So even in the Startup India scheme, you have to select three incubators that you're applying to. So you should first know who those three incubators would be, create a relationship with them, let them know, hey boss, this application is coming from me, and then apply. So it's a lot of PR work that you will have to do apart from the paperwork. So yeah, that's important with grants.
Interesting. Advice for people seeking angle investment. Again, solo tech founder, no, angel investment. I'm tripping,
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. There's no advice. I think first of all, you have to go to what is called an FNF, friends and family or friends and fools, and figure out whether they are going to write the check to you or not. So that happens. Didn't happen in our case.
Right.
We didn't have an FNF around. We directly went for the
Oh, but
CCD
that,
via
that was
HR.
because it's you, right? Like,
Maybe I don't know.
you
Too
said
much of a
so. You
secret
said
over there.
you said that you put in all your money, all your savings to start
Yeah,
this. So
yeah.
like, you
No.
were the friends and family, right? Like,
Could have been. We could have. In all honesty, we could have easily have raised also from friends
mhm,
and family. We just decided not to do that because sometimes the kind of questions that you wear as an investor, you don't want them all the day while you're building the startup, and then having somebody from the family asking you questions every now and then on the breakfast table also. Revenue
yeah.
aaya ki nahi? Then it becomes tricky sometimes, which my father still does. But yeah, so
But I
so
think that's more out of curiosity than anything else, right? Like,
yeah. So that was important. So friends and family, followed by people you know, mentors you know, people you think can add a value to your startup, and seek capital from them. I think that's very important, because if you talk to a mentor who knows your space, the mentor also knows the worth of this idea. Then you can get the first angel check from them and tell them you're getting it at a lower valuation, so they get more shares, but they also remain with you for a long time. So be very intelligent as a CEO. The CEO's function, I will once again repeat, is financial first and not product. That's a chief product officer. So yeah, and in Western startups, you will see the CEO only and only does fundraising, nothing else, not even company
mhm.
culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, cool. So these were Aviral's questions.
Yeah. I mean, a follow up is, do you have to be registered to be an angel investor?
Yeah, so SEBI has come out with this process called accredited angel investor if you're investing via a fund. So if you're going through a VC fund and becoming what I'd said an LP, then you have to have some accreditation, which means that your property should be closer to 10 CR is the new norm. I will come with the exact number, but there's some number and there's some process, some certification requirement. But if you're investing directly into a startup, not through a fund, so either equity or CCD, there is no such requirement. You just have to sign an agreement with the startup. So whenever Renured raises next, I will let you know, Viral.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, let me know. Why didn't you let me know? Why didn't you even ask me?
Okay. We can
I,
still
I
open a
would,
garage for you.
yeah, that would be amazing. I would go all in just because of the founders involved.
Ah, nice. Thank you. So
Yeah.
sweet of you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can connect with Abhimanyu on LinkedIn, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to share for you. It's like the world of AI and Google. You can look him up. And oh, he's doing it. He is going to
Yeah, I
share
will just do
his
it.
link in the comments. Please do follow him. He's always sharing really cool stuff about climate and science and fundraising for sure. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, is it really required for both founders to be equally ambitious? I would say that's a absolutely yes, right? Like
Ah, a loaded question actually. I would say no, not
you would say
always.
no.
No, no, no. So ambition is a function of how much skill and what longevity you add to the startup.
Mhm.
And then in some cases, you will figure out that the one co-founder is slightly more or maybe more skilled than the other co-founder. and is also taking up a lot of burden of running the startup, and that also reflects on the cap table. So it's not
Mhm.
always necessary that you have to start with 50-50. You will also see
Mhm.
85-15 also with co-founders, and they're still co-founders for the name of it. So depends a lot on who is adding what value, who brings in what experience, who is doing what functions, and then based on that, the ambition is either, yeah, cultivated as you build the startup together, or you just decide that this is the point where one of them stops and you now want new brains to enter the company.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's slightly tactical over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Just to follow up, like I think ambition may be the wrong term. I think it's responsibility, right? Like who takes, like, because anyone can have ambition, right?
Yeah.
Like, but like it's the taking of responsibility, knowing how much responsibility you want to take. I think that's a part of founder clarity, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ambition is like
'cause-
infatuation also, no?
yeah,
It doesn't
absolutely.
always last. But
Yeah.
yeah, passion is more long lasting. So yeah.
Because I am very clear with the founders that are in my venture studio that my responsibility is much lesser. You're the one who's in charge. You're the one who's going to be running the day to day. I'm here for XYZ reasons, and will I do things beyond those reasons? Yeah, for sure. Right. When
Yeah.
it push comes to shove. But like, I sort of make it very clear that it's not a 50-50 partnership with
Yeah.
certain people where I do want to take majority of the responsibility. I feel like I will do a 50-50 co-founder partnership, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
I think it's more.
I think that's where, and that goes point to the point that I spoke about. Not don't provide sweat equity to venture builders, but if they are
Mhm.
with you for a longer term, they're adding value to your experience for say 3 years or more, then it makes sense to provide an equity. So all of these questions about who is the co-founder, what's ambition, whether to add equities, how much skill and what longevity they will add to the startup. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, Aviral, yeah, you can unmute, but you'll have to also put on your video. Go for it.
All right, all right. Do I have to put on the video?
Yes, yes, you're on a nice video call. You're meeting such a
All
lovely
right.
human being. It would be nice to meet you as well.
Sorry, my hair like really
It's
bad
all
right
No
good.
now.
worries, no
Yeah.
worries.
Yeah. So my doubt was this fundraising thing, right? A lot of people say that a lot of investors have this filter that if you're a solo founder, they won't even just talk to you because they have this filter, right? I mean, you won't even get through. But as a founder, I know that I have a technical team working behind me. Maybe they are not my co-founders, but I have people, right, for marketing, for not for sales exactly, but that is my job, right? But for development, for marketing, and everything is managed. And I have an app, and the traction is there. Like I can get more and more traction. So how do you combat that question? Ke, you're a solo founder. How can we trust you? And like stuff like that, right?
Yeah, we just spoke about that, Aviral. So there are two, three data points on that. One is that there are a few funds who are looking at that in an opposite way because they feel the number one reason why startup don't work out is because co-founders fight, and they want to invest into solo founders. I'm forgetting the exact name. I'll find out and share with Pranav. But they just invest into solo founders. So it's the lens with what investors are coming. Number two, why investors say that is because the thing I said, not one founder can be a superhuman at all six skills. So now what you countered that with is my founding team has it. But the problem with founding team is employees can leave at any point of time. And then investor is putting in money once into the company. Will you refund the investor the money if an employee leaves? You won't do that. So why would an investor take the risk into doing all of this when you are just a solo co-founder? So you have to either provide a vesting in ESOP, as they say, to this employee that is so much important for you and justify it to the investor that this person won't leave, or just help them understand that your business doesn't require, say, sales or doesn't require operations as much because you're writing an operating system which will scale itself. So you have to figure out a lot of these are tactical questions. In Indian scenario, Indian ecosystem, I think investors pivot towards having at least two co-founders minimum. So that's the answer. Yeah.
So where do I find this another co-founder then? Because
Ah,
I'm okay with giving equity to a very like educated person, for example, who can bring that value. Maybe he's an IIT in that sense, right? and I'm okay with that. But I need to find these people, right? And I go to these events in Bangalore. I'm right now in Bangalore, right? So, and
Mm,
I don't usually find these people because a lot of times advice is just like go around, like go outside.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so how do you combat that?
And there have been a lot of programs around this, find your founder, matching co-founder. I think somebody created an app also around it, like what do you say, like Bumble, I think that's the word. Like you can match with co-founders, and all of that also happened for some time. It's still an open territory. I don't have a clear answer for it, because finding co-founders again is like finding partners, and you're going to work with them for a very long time. So vibe match needs to be there. So if I have to answer your question, figure out in your inner circle first. Ask your inner circle to figure out in their inner circles first, and then start using LinkedIn or more networking through events and all of that. You will 99% times end up finding a co-founder, or else your matrix is too high to not find one. So that's what I have observed. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
I in fact found some people who were co-founders for a brief while with certain startups on Reddit. I just posted on r/Bangalore ki I'm doing such and such a startup and I'm looking for people. It's hiring all over again, but from a different perspective, right? Like, and it wasn't enough for me to just some DMs on Reddit and chalo, I'll give you equity. It wasn't like that, right? Like it took weeks and months after that, right? Like where I had to go. One person was from Hubli. He had to like not Hubli, Hospet, and they had to come down to Bangalore, and like I had to organize all of this, right? Like meet all of them in one cafe, and like
Yeah.
like everything. It felt at that moment that each thing that I'm planning around this was important, like which cafe I'm picking, what will they think, and all of that stuff. But like the minute we started talking about work, it was sort of effortless and they understood it. And it felt like, okay, if nothing, let's just start working, right? Like all of us can sort of commit or invest 90 days into working with each other and just to try if the vibe is matching, if all of this is happening. Because that's what you want to do, right? Like
Yeah.
you want to see if you guys can like work together in a long term basis. And usually I recommend don't start working on the startup itself directly. Pick like a short term project, right? Like something that you can achieve in 30 days, 60 days, something like that. Like just to see if you guys together will meet a deadline, right? Like and the fun thing is that you could like the project could be a hackathon you're entering, or like just applying to YC, for example. It's irrelevant if you get in or not, but going through the process together and really battling the questions that are asked by like a YC or like an investor is a great way to see if there's a match between people, right? Like the other ways I've found people is um, usually getting involved in something that is not my area of domain expertise, right? Like go to like what does a designer have to do in a climate summit? Just go, right? Like when you go there, you meet people who are like so wildly different from who you are and what you're up to, that you find that complementary or contrarian to what you're thinking, and that's the actual matchup that you need, right? Like
Yeah.
so, yeah, could you tell us what's your startup about? Like, what are you building? So maybe our like answers could be a little more refined.
Yeah, I mean the startup is not that like a very fancy, but basically there's this problem in it's a very minute problem. It's a very niche product. I don't think many people will understand it. So there's this entire thing of calorie tracking apps, right? And I'm trying to build something similar with it, which is to Cal AI, but even better. And I've already built it. Like it's almost done, and we have launched it on last Friday, and we have gotten some traction. And there was some like hacking issue that came, and then we fixed it. Like right now, also we are working. Like my developer is working right now, right? So it's a app, but on the back end we have an moat around this database thing. That in Bangalore, if you're, for example, you're eating this holy cake, right? So no app will have that. Like
Hmm.
and these apps are costing 1100 or 1000 rupees per month, and people in Bangalore are paying for it, right? Because they don't have any option, because there is no app inside of India who is whose database is curated to India, and the portion sizes are also Indian, right? People don't eat in bowls and all that because the quantity is different. They are only served in restaurants. In Indian household, they eat in katoris and all that. So we engineered all that into our app, and now it's working. It's finalized, and so the app's name is EasyCal. I will start marketing it in next coming week. So UI UX overall is like version 2 is about to launch. So version 1 was there, and 10 15 people use it, friends and family only, and they give some feedback and all that. So now we are trying to improve, and then we will market it to like normal people in Bangalore.
Great.
Abhimanyu, you have.
No, I'm all eager to know how it scales, how it works out. Don't have any immediate off the bat
Yeah,
recommendation. You already hit the
yeah.
ground.
I mean,
Already
it's
faced your first problem, so yeah.
yeah, that is the
Uh,
first problem. Also, I know that this app thing is not like a real. It's almost like a project, but I still wanted to do it because I got to meet a lot of people, a lot of developers, a lot of marketing people, and then now I have this like raw manpower that I can utilize to build something else, something larger, something bigger, right? And along with co-founders and all that. So I have plans for the future also, but yeah, maybe one step at a time. Yeah.
No, I think it's like very clear what your intention with this startup is, right? Like I think your intention is learning. You're in that. Is this your first product you're launching?
Yeah, this is my first product.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it seems like that, right? Like you're testing the waters, you're trying to understand what marketing is like, what sales is like, what products. It's completely fair to be like a solo founder in this situation. I think the one clarity that you want is there. I think it's very obvious to you why investors aren't biting, right? Like, and if I had to be very blunt about it and just tell you directly, it's because you mentioned it's a very small problem for a very small audience,
Yeah.
right? Like, so I do have a whole other thesis around what you should do, right? Like, and it's Abhimanyu, I love your opinions on this also. This is
Yeah.
primed for a what I would call a micro monopoly, right? Like where you may get like say 1 lakh users from Bangalore who use it, and they pay you just enough money to it doesn't create like a big, it's not a rocket ship, it doesn't fly off, but it's the big enough win in some sense that you're in a market that nobody else is like kind of thinking of also, right? Like, so yeah, the micro monopoly is a interesting way to think of your success metric, right? Like where you will hit.
Yeah.
And what you should also consider is what a lot of indie hackers, solopreneurs on Twitter keep doing, which is acquisition, right? Like get the product into a bigger wellness ecosystem, right? Like, so maybe talking to people in health, fitness, all of those sectors, like I guess like a big player would be CureFit, right? Like they have it's a full
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Pure
Like
fit, healthy,
any,
healthy.
yeah, talk to them, say, figure out where that one micro problem they're not able to solve, and like maybe you're the solution for it. You could get acquired through them, right? Like, so that's maybe one trajectory you can consider. But yeah, it's a very micro monopoly vibes I'm getting from what you're building.
Yeah. And even if I'm successful in this micro monopoly, that's a huge win for me, at least.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I always tell people, you don't need to become like, you should aim to, you should have big ambitions and do things that like millions of people really want and all of that. But like $2,000-3,000 a month is a great life changing amount, like in India, right? Like it's a good life. It's not a lot of difference from $2,000-3,000 earnings a month versus 200,000, like in terms of lifestyle, quality of air, and things like that, right? Like, so yeah, it's a good project. Like, hope it really works out for you.
Thank you. And one more thing, Pranav. If you have a WhatsApp group or something like that, can you share the link in the like in
I really, we don't have a WhatsApp group because nobody really uses the WhatsApp group that I create, right? Like,
You
uh,
should, because I joined through a
no,
WhatsApp group.
I'm being blunt and honest about it. I have great response. So I think keep in touch with us on Luma. That's where most of the activity is happening around Startup Speedrun. Okay, I'll reveal there's a platform in the works that nobody asked for, but I think it will be. Uh, when you're in founder mode, you got to wing it, right? Like so. Yeah, so there is a platform in the works. There's something we can like, but apart from that, between Luma, our YouTube channel where this whole thing will be out in a couple of days again. We have an Instagram page now. We are you could reach out to me on LinkedIn, and like I'm like Abhimanyu. I'll respond, but it may take like 24 to 48 hours TAT, right? Like, so yeah, so most of us are very, very accessible in that sense. Just reach out to us personally. I think we'll be able to help you out in some sense.
I will unfortunately have to now start jumping into another one. But
Yeah.
so Pranav,
All right.
any closing?
Yes. Big thank you, Abhimanyu, for making it to the fireside chat with me. It's been a long, long time since we connected, even though we're in the same city. But I think that's the curse of Bangalore in some sense, also, right? Like,
Which part of
um,
Bangalore are you in?
I'm not to dox myself, but like I will
Okay,
follow up after
okay,
the call.
sure. Got it. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Ankita. Thanks, Avira, Sridharan, everybody who showed up to this call. It's wonderful to have a live audience while talking with somebody like Abhimanyu. I hope you all learned something today. I hope, Abhimanyu, I hope you had a great time.
I did.
Uh,
Thank you so much for setting this up, Pranav, and thank you so much for the brilliant questions to you and to everyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Look forward to more. Please keep it locked. Subscribe to us everywhere on the internet. And yeah, ask ChatGPT about us so that our AEO ranking increases. Thank you so much, guys. We shall catch up with you next week. We have another fireside chat coming up. I'm not going to introduce who's coming up next week. You'll have to keep it locked onto Luma for that. But we do have our 1 day speed run 0 to 1 sprint coming up. For those of you who don't know, I am teaching and workshopping with non-tech founders. I help you go from idea to clarity to actually build out MVP in 1 day. You can join me for that course happening in Bangalore. No WhatsApp group. I'm not making a WhatsApp group. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Abhimanyu, thanks again. We
Thank
should
you.
catch up soon.
You should.
Take care. Take care, everyone. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend ahead. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.